الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So as we continue discussing the book Bulugh al-Maram by Hafiz Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah, and we're still discussing Kitab, as he mentioned, Kitab al-Tahara, so matters that are pertaining to Tahara, and in specific discussing Bab, that discussion relating Qada al-Haja, that matter that relates to Adab, Qada al-Haja, that relates to the person, the Adab, and those etiquettes that one should be mindful of in the person relieving of himself. So I'll be picking up from where we have left from the last hadith that we have covered, and today inshallah ta'ala we'll be discussing a few hadith that relate to the same topic as the hadith have been stated by the author rahimahullah, starting with the hadith of Abu Huraira anhu and ending with the hadith of Ibn Umar anhum ajma'in. أيوة.
Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. Hadith 81, narrated Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu. Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Safeguard your souls from the two matters that cause cursing that befall the one who relieves himself on the people's pathways and under their places of shade," reported by Muslim. Abu Dawud added, on the authority of Mu'adh and radiallahu anhu, and the watering places. His wording is, he, the Prophet ﷺ said, guard against the three things which cause curse: defecating at the water places, on the main roads, and in the places of shade. Ahmed reported from Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu that defecation is prohibited also at the place where water collects. And both chains of narration for this hadith and the previous one have da'if weaknesses. Ibn Umar's hadith radiallahu anhu has the prohibition of relieving oneself under the fruit-bearing trees and on the bank of the flowing river, reported by At-Tabrani with a da'if, weak chain of narrators.
So these are the hadith the author rahimahullah mentioned with Ibn Hajar regarding the matter or the topic to be discussed. So he mentioned 4 hadith. Some of the books or some of the editing of this book, they will mention them as one single hadith as they all relate to the same discussion, and some that they count them as 4 separate hadith based upon he mentioned 4 different sahaba. He mentions 4 different sahaba, so they count each hadith as being different, and that each hadith also have some additional wording that the other hadith may not have. So as for what is mentioned by Ibn Hajar rahimahullah mentioned, an Abi Hurairah radhiyallahu anhu قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم اتقوا لاعنين الذي يتخلى في طريق الناس أو في ظلهم رواه مسلم. So the first hadith he mentioned is hadith that is narrated by Imam Muslim. Then the second that he mentioned then زاد Abu Dawud. Then also the Abu Dawud that he had something which is an additional wording, and Mu'adh from the hadith of Mu'adh ibn Jabal radhiyallahu anhu when it mentioned موارد. So the hadith of Mu'adh, it has something addition from what is mentioned by the previous hadith, with it mentioned موارد, which is the water places. Then they mentioned Ahmed. As for what was in some of the translation, that they mentioned the full hadith of Mu'adh from Abu Dawud, which mentioned as we'll discuss, but that's not per se in the original text of Ibn Hajar. It is not mentioned. But you might find some of those who have commented upon the hadith or have edited the hadith, they have mentioned the actual full wording of the hadith of Mu'adh, but by Ibn Hajar he only mentioned the additional wording. When he mentioned Zada Abu Dawud, that is an increase or there's an additional wording by Abu Dawud in his narration and Mu'adh, and the hadith of Mu'adh, not the hadith of Abu Huraira. In Abu Dawud they mention Mawarid. So then he mentioned again, then he mentioned after Ahmed, and also there's a narration of the hadith of Ahmed rahimahullah and Ibn Abbas with this kind of general meaning when mentioned أو نك الماء. So they mentioned نك الماء or نك الماء. So they mentioned which is the river bank. Then he mentioned فيهما ضعف, and that both narration have some weakness, and would explain what is meant by that. And then he mentioned after then أخرجه طبراني وأخرجه طبراني نهي أن تحت الأشجار مثمرة. Then also this hadith of At-Tabarani, that it forbids regarding that one to urinate or to defecate, to pass once, to relieve oneself on the ashjar muthmira, that trees that fruit trees that bear fruits, that I mentioned وضعف النهر جاري, or mention ضعف nar al-jari. So they mention also this word that concerned also on the bank of rivers, on the bank of rivers, min hadith ibn Umar bisanadin da'if. So these are the 4 hadith that you have mentioned regarding concerning this particular discussion. So first, regarding concerning that Ibn Hajar rahimahullah, he mentioned one hadith as being the main hadith, the hadith of Abu Huraira radhiyallahu anhu, that is collected by Imam Muslim, regarding things that are places that a person should not urinate, and also by urinating those places, it will cause the people to curse ones who does so. So I mentioned that hadith as being concerned, the hadith which is the main hadith, the main hadith that he mentioned. Then he mentioned other narrations, but those narrations have some weakness, as well discussed. But also they have other additional wording, meaning other places or situation that a person should not urinate or relieve of oneself. So as for the first hadith of Abu Hurairah anhu, where he mentioned that particular hadith, that as for takhrij of the hadith, that the hadith of Abu Hurairah anhu, it is found in Muslim, in Sahih Muslim. Also the hadith is found in Abu Dawud in his Sunan. The hadith also can be found in Ahmed in his Musnad and Bayhaqi. So the hadith of Imam Muslim rahimahullah is the first hadith that is mentioned. It can be found in Sahih Muslim, or referred to as Sahih Muslim, Abu Dawud in his Sunan, Ahmed in his Musnad, and Bayhaqi in his Sunan. And as for that hadith, that the hadith there is authentic, is Sahih, Rawahu, Muslim. So as they mentioned here regarding concerning that Sheikh Al-Fahl in his editing of the book, he mentioned the first hadith of Abu Hurairah who mentioned Ahmed, Muslim, Abu Dawud. Then he mentioned also Abu Ya'la in his Musnad, Ibn Jarud, Ibn Khuzaymah, Ibn Hibban, Hakim, Bayhaqi, Walbaqie. So the first hadith of Imam Muslim is found in all these sources. You have Sahih Muslim, or Imam Muslim in his Sahih, Ahmed in his Musnad, Abu Dawud, Abu Ya'la in his Musnad, Ibn Jarud in his book Al-Muntaqa, Ibn Khuzaymah in his Sahih, also again Ibn Hibban in his Sahih, Wal Hakim in his book Al-Mustadrak, that so the hadith, and also Al-Bayhaqi and Al-Baghawi in his Sharh As-Sunnah. So this hadith is found in many sources. So the hadith here is they mentioned concerning the hadith is Sahih, but the ulama who have mentioned, when they mention this hadith also, they kind of somewhat caution or mention something of caution, that the hadith when it is found in the book of Imam Muslim rahimahullah, mentioned اتقوا لعينين. So he mentioned in this narration, he mentioned اتقوا, you should guard oneself from لعينين, from the 2 that are said to be bring about curse upon themselves. Then they mentioned regarding concerning that as for the exact wording in Sahih Muslim, it mentioned اتقوا لعنين. It mentioned اتقوا لعنين, that the 2 that are cursed. So the word, but they mentioned that the word that is mentioned here is the wording of Abu Dawud, not exactly the wording of Imam Muslim. Even though the word of the hadith is generally the same hadith, but a slight difference in the wordings. So that they mentioned that as something of the ulama of hadith, they can be very meticulous and precise. So the exact wording that is mentioned here, what is mentioned here, the hadith is reference back to Imam Muslim, but this wording as mentioned here is more so the wording of Abu Dawud. The Imam Muslim is wording a little bit slight different. Then he mentioned Zada. So the hadith as we mentioned in the Imam Muslim, Ahmed, Abu Dawud, Abu Ya'la, Ibn Jarud, Ibn Khuzaymah, Ibn Hibban, Hakim, Bayhaqi, Walbaqie. So those who have mentioned this particular hadith. Then they mentioned the second hadith that is mentioned, which is the hadith of Mu'adh ibn Jabal. The hadith of Mu'adh ibn Jabal radhiyallahu anhu, where they mention regarding concerning, as for the hadith of Mu'adh, that hadith is found in Abu Dawud in his Sunan, Ibn Majah in his Sunan, Bayhaqi. And also they mentioned here Al-Bayhaqi. Sheikh Al-Fahli mentioned regarding concerning this hadith that it is found in Abu Dawud, Ibn Majah, Al-Hakim in Al-Mustadrak, Wal-Bayhaqi. So this hadith of Mu'adh, it can be found in those different sources. Abu Dawud, as mentioned by the author, in addition to Abu Dawud, Ibn Majah in his Sunan, also Al-Hakim in his book Al-Mustadrak, and fourth Al-Bayhaqi in his Sunan. So they mentioned regarding concerning as for this hadith of Mu'adh ibn Jabal that the ulama that they have criticized this hadith. So they mentioned here regarding concern that of the criticism that you find out of the ulama who have somewhat discussed the authenticity of this hadith, where they mentioned concern that of the narrators in this hadith, one narrator is Abu Sa'id Himri, Abu Sa'id Himyari, Abu Sa'id Himyari, that they mention who's majhul. So someone, they do not have enough information about him, jar'an wa ta'dilan. So they have not much information regarding that those who have praised him or those who have criticized him. So it's considered to be majhul, as his affairs is not known regarding whether to say that he's a trustworthy narrator or not, because there's not much information regarding him. So he's said to be majhul. Then I mentioned also that the narrator concerned is riwayah and Mu'adh ibn Jabal is said to be mursal. And Abu Dawud rahimahullah in his Sunan, when he mentioned his hadith, said wahada mursal. So when after he mentioned this hadith, Abu Dawud rahimahullah, Sajastani, in his book As-Sunan, then he mentioned hada hadith mursal, or he mentioned hadith hada mursal, indicating concerning mursal when he meant by intend by mursal is not the meaning of mursal that is commonly known today, but is of the meaning of mursal that was how it was used more broader in the time of the early of the ulama, where mursal meaning al-inqita. So mursal meaning al-inqita, that is a breakage regarding concerning that Abu Sa'id Himyari did not meet Mu'adh ibn Jabal. So there's a breakage in the isnad inqita, but they refer to as mursal. So mursal at time may give the meaning of something being inqita, there's a breakage in isnad, and also at times the word mursal can mean, as I mentioned, ma rafa tabi'in and Nabi Islam, when a tabi'i that they narrate upon the Prophet Islam directly. So that is mursal, and also mursal mean al-inqita, that is a breakage in the isnad. So from this they mentioned the hadith that Ibn Hajar rahimahullah, he mentions the hadith did not then he mentioned as in فيهما ضعف, where also Ibn Hajar indicate that also that hadith is da'if. So he passed his judgment on the hadith as being da'if. With that you find of the ulama who have somewhat graded this hadith as authentic, amongst them Ibn Sakan and Hakim. So the hadith is collected by Al-Hakim in his book Al-Mustadrak. So by this Hakim rahimahullah, he owed the hadith to be authentic, but as we mentioned that those criticisms of the hadith regarding those 2 points, one narrators being majhul, and also that there's a breakage between one narrator and another, that one did not hear or met the other. Then also they mention regarding and also that others of Ibn Qattan, Abdul Haq al-Ishbili, that and Ibn Hajar and others who take the hadith to be da'if, who have graded this hadith to be da'if. So that's the second hadith. As for the next hadith of Ibn Abbas that he mentioned, so the hadith of Mu'adh, I have an additional word which is mawarid, which is these water holes or places of water that I mentioned. Then the third hadith, which is hadith of Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu, where he mentioned naq'i al-ma, which concerning the river, the water gathering place, where he mentioned regarding the water pool, where he mentioned فيهما ضعف, that there's some weakness in this narration. There's weakness in this narration, in both narration. So both Ibn Hajar rahimahullah, Ibn Hajar all that the hadith of Mu'adh and also the hadith of Ibn Abbas, but both are said to be weak. They are weak. Then I mentioned the fourth hadith, where I mentioned akhrajahu Tabarani. So Tabarani rahimahullah, as known that he has many books in hadith. So he has many books that he have collected. They mention al-ma'ajim الثلاث. So he has 3 ma'ajim, al-kubra, wal-wusta, wal-awsat, wal-sugra. So they mentioned that the ulama have mentioned, or those who have discussed this hadith, they mentioned that as for takhrij of this hadith of Ibn Umar, that they mentioned that with this narration, that hadith of also the hadith of before that is the hadith of Ibn Abbas, that also the hadith of Ibn Abbas is in Ahmed. So the hadith of Ibn Abbas, that it is in Ahmed, and they have mentioned a reason behind why this hadith is said to be da'if, that a lengthy discussion regarding one of the narrator who's Ibn La'iyah. So you have Abdullah Ibn La'iyah, who's one of those narrators who said to be a Qadi. So Ibn La'iyah is one who said to be a Qadi of Misr and the Muhaddith al-Misr, and concerned that he also was the Muhaddith of Misr. But there's a lengthy discussion regarding Abdullah Ibn La'iyah, where of the ulama who owes that he has sul hifz, also that he has lost his book, that they were burnt, and then he started to narrate hadith from his own memory, so he made a lot of errors. So they mentioned that Ibn La'iyah, a discussion regarding concerning Ibn La'iyah, we have those who hold that his hadith his hadith overall are considered to be that they are suitable, so that they are suitable for to be considered to be suitable shawahid or mutaba'at, that they can use as supporting evidence or to a degree of acceptability of those who hold that is hadith Ibn La'iyah that is weak before his books were destroyed, and after his book were destroyed even worse. And those who hold that Ibn La'iyah rahimahullah, that is hadith, that the ones that are said to be more amthal, that are said to be more reliable, that if he narrate upon ibadillah, so this ibadillah min al-tabi'in, that if narrate upon them, then his hadith is considered to be, and also Ibn Qutaybah, that his hadith is said to be acceptable, or more acceptable. And even though others mention that, yes, more acceptable, but not to the extent where they are said to be to a level of acceptability of sahih, or a level of makbul. So there's still a weakness, but they are the more better of his hadith. So they are of weakness, but the better of his hadith. So a lengthy discussion between the ulama of hadith regarding Abdullah ibn La'iyah, of the ulama of past, and also even of contemporary. That discussion is still being held between the ulama regarding Ibn La'iyah rahimahullah. So they're all concerned in Ibn La'iyah, of those who hold that his hadith is weak in all cases and circumstance, some more weaker than others. And the second criticism of hadith of Ibn Abbas, that there's a narrator and Ibn Aliyah and a rawi that I mentioned that he narrated, that mentioned Akhbarani man sami'a Ibn Abbas, that I mentioned that a narrator mentioned Ibn Huraira قال أخبرني من سمع Ibn Abbas, that I was informed by one who heard from Ibn Abbas. So this person that he heard from had not been identified. So the ulama of hadith, they refer to it as mubham, that this person said to be mubham, where is narrating upon someone who has not been identified. So he mentioned that he heard from someone, as for who that person is, his name is unknown. So based upon this, it's said to be mubham. So they mentioned the hadith of those weakness. It has the weakness. Then as for the next hadith of Ibn Umar, that hadith mentioned أخرجه الطبراني في أوسط. Also the hadith can be found in Ibn Adi in his book Kamil, we discuss concerning Urawat. And based upon this concerning of the narrator, concerning that of the narrators who is Furat Ibn Sa'ib, that is criticized, that is said to be matruk al-hadith. So the hadith is considered to be very weak. That hadith is considered to be very weak. So they mentioned regarding concerning that all these hadith, with the exception of hadith of Abu Huraira anhu, the first hadith, is authentic. All the other hadith that was mentioned after are said to be weak. They are mentioned, Ibn Hajar rahimahullah mentioned, because they have additional information. They have additional information regarding other places where a person is not to relieve himself. So that's concerning that discussion regarding takhrij of the hadith. So the asl, the main hadith is the first hadith of Abu Huraira radhiyallahu anhu, and the other hadith of Mu'adh, Ibn Abbas, Ibn Umar radhiyallahu anhum, that they are said to be da'if. So as for this narrator they mentioned here, who's Mu'adh ibn Jabal. So they mentioned that is Mu'adh ibn Jabal ibn Amr ibn Aus al-Ansari al-Khazraji. So Mu'adh, who's Mu'adh ibn Jabal ibn Amr ibn Aus al-Ansari al-Khazraji. And he accepted Islam, he said that Aqabat al-Thaniya, he accepted Islam, then also he participated in Badr and what came after. So he accepted Islam, and then after Badr, soon before Badr, and he participated in Badr and all the other and what came after regarding the different battles that occurred. Then Al-Mu'adh ibn Jabal radhiyallahu anhu, that the Prophet ﷺ at some point later on, that he sent him to Yemen. He appointed him to go to Yemen, instructed him to go to Yemen as a da'i, mu'allim and a qadi. So his role in Yemen was to be a da'i to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to Islam, also mu'allim, to teach the people about Islam, and third also to be a qadi, to be a judge of the people, over the people of Yemen. So Mu'adh ibn Jabal anhu, of high status and place regarding his ilm, and also held position during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and of that to be a da'i, mu'allim and a qadi, and a judge. And the Prophet ﷺ advised him regarding how to approach regarding giving dawah to those people of Yemen. He advised him regarding how to approach giving dawah to the people of Yemen, regarding concerning tadarruj, of starting with the main important of the arkan of Islam, of the shahada of la ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, then after then invite them to salat and then zakat, and according to that method. So regarding concerning that Mu'adh ibn Jabal, that in the latter life of the Prophet ﷺ, he was sent to Yemen to give da'wah, and he stayed in the Prophet ﷺ. Then he returned back in the time of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, back to Al-Hijaz. Then also during the time of Umar ibn al-Khattab as being the Khalifa of the Muslim, that he was Umar appointed as being the wali of Sham. So appointed to be the wali of Sham after Abi Ubaidah radiyallahu anhuma. Then eventually he died, Mu'adh, he died in the concerning that ta'un, in that plague of Imwas, regarding concerning the plague of Imwas. So he died in that plague of Imwas, and that was in Sana al-Thamani, in the 18th 18. So in the 18th year of the Hijrah, and it mentioned regarding concerning that an Arba 13 sana, and he died when he was still a young person, just over 30 something years. So around 34 years that so Mu'adh died at let's say we might say at the age of 34, around the age of 34 that he died. So that's concerning, that's concerning matters regarding Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiyallahu anhu. So show regarding that thing that some of the ulama who have died, but they were still said in those early years, as we may deem it. So he died in his 30s, and you'll find that some of the mashaykh of contemporary times have even written books regarding of those ulama who died in their early years, in their 30s or in their early 40s. So those who have collected the names and the life of all those ulama who died within their 30s or late 20s or in their 40s, early 40s. So Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiyallahu anhu being amongst those. As for the hadith, as for this particular hadith, so as for what is mentioned regarding the wording of the hadith, that so first before the wording, the mawdu of the hadith. So as for the mawdu of the hadith regarding concerning the hadith is to discuss those places that one should not لا يتخلى عنها يتخلى فيها, that places that we should not تخلى فيها, places that one should not urinate or one should not relieve themselves in certain places, because it will bring about concerning the lan, the curse of people for the one who was to do so. So as for the hadith, it discussed regarding concerning al-fadl hadith, it mentioned اتقوا لعينين. So as for la'in, concerning from la'an, which is the person who man ibtad an rahmatillah, where the person is distant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So cursing, even a person is distant from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy. Then it mentioned that for hadith concerning اتقوا لعينين is in relation to ijtanabu amrayni jalibayni lil'an, that the person to avoid things that will bring about you being cursed by others. So things that may be done by a person and that will be a cause, a reason for people to curse you because of the person and to abuse you because of certain things that you have done. So that's concerning this hadith. Mention the person, al-lan wa shatam, that the person may do of certain things and that will bring about the anger of the people, and then the people respond by cursing and abusing such a person who have done such act. So the hadith mentioned avoid these things. So from the hadith, they show from this point that a Muslim avoiding certain things that will bring about the wrath of the people upon you, and doing certain things that may be a cause for this. Then it mentioned regarding concern الذي تخلى في طريق الناس, that concerning تخلى, regarding concern a person defecating or urinating in places where طريق الناس, in a place where the people, the pathway of the people, so a place that are used for the people to travel back and forth and to move around, whereby in whatever fashion, then a person should not urinate or defecate in those places. So places that are used by the people, regarding concerning places that are used, whether طريق الناس, where the people walk, pathways to walk, tracks that they walk, pathway, roadways, and the likes, they are included. Then they mention regarding concerning that, so those places the people are used where to benefit the people, then one should avoid urinating and defecating or even of oneself in those places mentioned, في ظلهم. So and also in those places concerning الظل الناس, where people seek shade. So people who seek to rest, as mentioned by Khattabi, مستدل الناس الذي اتخذوه مقيلا وينزلونه ويقعدون, that the people that they will sit in these places and they'll rest in these places and they'll have conversation with others in these places. So people, places where people gather and rest and take breaks or shelter, then the person should avoid urinating in these places. So in today's time, like bus shelter and the likes, then one place where people gather, places where there's a tree and there's maybe a stool around it, then a person should not defecate or urinate in such places where people will gather and rest. Then also mawarid, as mentioned regarding mawarid, of those places regarding places where water is gathered. So water holes, places where water is gathered, where people come there to drink, or animals, where by way of these water holes or water places where people come to drink, whether it be people or by way of animals. And also nekat al-ma, regarding concerning river banks. So also where people will come to drink or to fetch water, or animals will go there to be watered and to drink, then also the one should not defecate and also to urinate in these places. So the hadith is to clarify places, and also mention another regarding ashjar muthmira, and also it may include also places where fruit trees that bore fruit, that has fruits. So those type of trees that people can get from it fruits, then one should not defecate underneath it, and so those things to be avoided where. So these are those things that are mentioned in the hadith regarding concerning of those places to avoid regarding these acts. So they mention that overall regarding concerning that they mention regarding concerning that note that ashjar muthmira, trees that bear fruits, that whether it's for not defecating and urinating where those trees that bear fruits, that those fruit they may fall into that felt, then that is unbefitting. Where those fruits, people may want to eat of it and to benefit from it, but because it has falling into filth, then it cannot be used. So one should avoid, and it is not allowed for one to urinate and defecate in these places. And also that they mention regarding concerning that that it may have fruit, these trees, and person want to get access to those. But because of what is around the filth that's around, the person cannot have access to the fruits in those trees. So of the reason why the person should not fulfill their call of nature underneath these type of trees. So as for what is discussed regarding concerning these items that the hadith, it can somewhat mentioned over 6 different things, places the person should avoid. So it mentioned regarding of those places that one should avoid regarding relieving of oneself, and will bring about a curse upon the person by on the tongues of the people. Mention tariq, the pathway of the people, the shades where people shade and rest, water holes, water places, also banks, river banks, and also it mentioned on the trees, and also it mentioned daf dafat al-nahr al-jari, and also the sides of rivers, the side of streams and the likes. So those are the places the person that he tries to avoid regarding relieving of oneself. So as for what can be taken regarding concerning that, as mentioned here, regarding concerning the author, that the ulama have mentioned, and those have explained, mentioned that from this hadith, it shows دلت هذه أحاديث على النهي على أن تخلي في بعض أماكن. That from this hadith, it shows that it is forbidden for one to relieve oneself in certain places. And those places have been mentioned. The reason لما في ذلك من أذى. And the reason for this because of the أذية والأذى, because it harmed the people. So those people, people are being harmed, being negatively affected by a person relieving oneself in these particular places as mentioned. And to make those places tanajjus, to make this place kind of somewhat a place of filth, and fihi, smell that is have a foul smell, and also not a good thing, and also is not also decent for the sight to look at these things. It's unpleasant for the person to look at the filth that is there. So by this, the person, these are of those things that the Sharia have forbid for the person to use of these places because of the smell, the impurity that is then left there, and also the sight. So of these things, that then the odor, so the person to avoid defecating in these places and urinating in these places. And if so, and also it can bring about, in some of these places, can be a reason for bringing about concerning the spread of disease. As water that is used and people urinating, then this can create a problem regarding the water being contaminated with filth, so, and then being used and being drunk by people or by animal. So Islam wants concerning that which is best for the people. So it forbids that these places to be used for relieving of oneself. So as mentioned, regarding concern, these are the 6 places that I mentioned that are somewhat very clear, that one should not use these places for the purpose mentioned. For the purpose mentioned. That Sheikh Bassam, regarding concerning of the general fawahid, that maybe can be taken, that he shows, as he mentioned, تحريم البول والغائط في طرق الناس التي تعبرون أنها that يعبرون معها أو يعبرون معها, that concern that the places that the hadith shows it is forbidden for one to relieve, to defecate or to urinate in the pathway of the people, that the people use these areas, and also places that are used by people for sheltering. So said it no, that would include regarding places that people rest, places that are meant for people to rest. We have chairs maybe there, so those indicate that people use these places to rest. So one should not use these places to relieve themselves. Also places where people go to get water and to gather water and to drink of water or to feed their animals. Also the same thing will apply. The same will apply also those trees that have muthmira, that bear fruits that the people can benefit from. Then I mentioned that one also not to do so, especially concerning places where the fruits are used and the people benefit from it. As for things that may have fruits that are not benefited, that are not used by the people, then that's different. They mentioned it is makruh, it is disliked. But as for if the fruits are being of benefit, then it becomes haram. And I mentioned that general card regarding concerning Islam, it forgives Islam forbids regarding harming of others. Islam forbids regarding harming of others. So based upon this, that the people should avoid using these places for not for the right reasons. And also regarding marafiq, concerning general places and how it is to be used, then also Islam kind of somewhat gives some guideline regarding these places that the general public will use, that in some of these places that it is not befitting regarding one relieving oneself in these places. Not to relieve oneself in these places, as these general things are for public access and for public use. So one should not use these places in this matter. Also, it shows regarding ihtiram, certain places that are mentioned, and after that concerning fruit trees, certain trees and plants. Also regarding a ta'am, place that which will be from the fruit and from the ta'am, and also places where people drink, that want to have ihtiram, to show respect for those places, and also places that people use regularly to rest, to seek shelter and the likes. So to have some respect for those places that the general public that they use. So public area being used in a way which is befitting, a bit is used where there's no harm that is being done to others. So show that it shows Islam put certain things in place regarding having respect for the general public areas that are used by the people. So having respect for the general public space and areas, especially those places that people use often. So Islam shows that one should have respect for public areas. So that would include regarding concerning that they mentioned regarding concerning that. So also regarding that public gardens or places where people will go for would use in a public, regarding public space, gardens, parks, and the likes. Also for the person not to use these places in a way which is disrespectful, and to urinate and to defecate in these places where the public generally gather and sit, also in parks and also in public gardens, then also these places to be respected. So they mention al-an, which is ad-dua bi-tard and rahmatillah, where a person is supplicating for a person to miss out on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rahmah. So and it showed that the person does so, then they have done dhulm to others, they have done a dhulm to others. And the hadith, it shows regarding the Muslim that have to be mindful regarding not to engage or not to involve himself in actions that will bring about the wrath of the public, and for the public to despise of that person and curse of that person because of the act that they did. So for the Muslim to be mindful of this. And also the hadith shows regarding that Islam, it put emphasis regarding nadhafa. So Islam put emphasis regarding that matter regarding concerning that cleanliness, whether our personal cleanliness, our personal hygiene as individuals, and also our environment and our surroundings. So for the Muslim to be mindful regarding matters regarding and cleanliness, and after that regarding concerning that, keeping the public space also clean, and also to use in a way which is befitting, and be mindful of others, and being mindful of others, as others will also use of that area and that space in public, just as you, the individual, will use of that space. Then you should be respectful of that space as it will be used by others. So also from the hadith, it can take regarding concerning that one, destroying of public space and things that are provided for people for public use. So for a person to be mindful of those things and not to destroy of things that are meant for the general public. One, to use these things in a way which is befitting and not in a way which is destructive. So that's concerning of those benefits can be mentioned. And it mentioned overall been concerning al-adhiyat nas, regarding concern that bringing harm towards others and to the public by doing of certain things, then one should avoid of these things. So it's a general concern, the hadith, that that the main hadith, that the hadith is authentic, discuss two matters regarding concerning that tariq an-nas wa dhilm, but also you find other narration that are somewhat discussed and considered to be weak, that mention other things that also one should also respect regarding things that are used in the public, and the benefit is drawn from it by the general public, that we should honor these things. So that inshallah ta'ala is what is taken from this hadith regarding qada al-haja, by way of places that one should not relieve oneself in public. So that inshallah ta'ala will come to an end regarding this particular hadith. and continue with other hadith, with the other hadith that are mentioned by the author, the author rahimahullah, regarding other matters pertaining to adab, qada, al-haja, وبالله تعالى توفيق وهذه السبيل والآخر دعوانا الحمد لله آمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
An hour basically until the adhan.
An hour. Oh, how long is this one? I thought this one's an hour.